Happy Lightfall release week, everyone. Like you, I spent yesterday grinding out the legendary campaign, exploring Neomuna, and shamelessly grinding out a disgusting amount of XP to get the final column artifact mods unlocked for you guys as soon as possible. I did quite a bit of testing to showcase just how potent some of these mods can be and which ones are worth skipping altogether now that we can only have 12 of them unlocked at any given time. If I sound a bit sniffly in this video, I do apologize as I'm a little bit sick at the moment, but without further ado, let's dive into the must-have artifact mods for Season of Defiance. This season's artifact is known as the Ascendant Scepter, and we'll be starting in Column 1 with the Anti-Champion mods. These are all personal preference, so I'm not going to cover these too in depth, but as you can see here, I went with Anti-Barrier Pulse Rifle, Unstoppable Scout Rifle, and Overload AR/SMG. As we move into Column 2, we have new types of artifact mods that will be extremely important to take full advantage of the newly reworked build crafting system. Armor affinities are now gone, and in their place, we now have Arc, Solar, Stasis, Strand, and Void mods. These come in the form of Siphon mods to generate Orbs of Power, Weapon Surge mods that have taken the place of Font of Might, as it was known previously, as well as Loaders, among several others. This makes the Column 2 authorized mods even more important because they offer significant discounts to mods that match the affinity you're unlocking. So any Void Weapon Surge mods that I use on my boots will cost 1 point instead of the normal value of 3, which makes it much more realistic to run multiple copies of this mod on your boots for a higher damage bonus value. You can do the same thing with the Grenade authorized mod on your Warlock, which means you can stack 3 Ashes to Assets mods for just 3 points total, which means you'll be getting supers faster than ever before. This mod is unbelievably valuable, and if I had to recommend 3 of them, I would say Solar, Void, and the Grenade mods are by far the most important. Even though Strand is fun, there aren't that many mods in the game for this yet, and you have something like multi-siphon mods that don't really make a ton of sense, especially when you consider that you have Harmonic Siphon, Kinetic Siphon, and individual elements that aren't that much more expensive and can be discounted by these other mods as well. As we move into Column 3, there are some very powerful mods that are generally useful just about everywhere. Starting with Shatter Orbs, the first time you break a combatant shield, you create an Orb of Power if you break that shield with a matching damage type. So for example, if you're using the highly popular Volatile rounds and using your funnel web to take advantage of that mod, if you use that and break a Void Shield with your Void weapon, it will generate an Orb of Power. And in the right setting, this can be unbelievably powerful. As you guys can see in the Shattered Realm gameplay in the background, I break 1 Void Shield and all the surrounding shields break as well, generating dozens of orbs that can either max out your armor charges or give you a massive chunk of your super. You can do this with any weapon type and any set of matching shields, and though you may not get this exact result, it will be extremely strong in things like Grandmaster Nightballs, where you're trying to constantly break various shield types, which will give you armor charges and also damage boosts as well. This is one of my favorite mods in the artifact overall, and I highly recommend picking this up. Next up, we have Defiant Armory, which greatly improves the benefits provided by Noble Deeds, Nanotech Tracer Rockets, Tech's Balance Stock, and Ambush Origin traits. I skipped this one personally because even though it's solid, there are far more powerful options in this column. Next up, we have Untangler, where destroying a tangle with a Strand weapon suspends targets damaged by the explosion. First off, I want to say that I love the suspension mechanic. I think it's by far the most powerful thing to come from Strand, but with that said, if you're going to be using these mods, you pretty much need to take every single Strand mod in this artifact to make them compete with the Light 3.0 subclasses. Next, we have Solar Surge, where collecting a Fire Sprite gives you an armor charge. This can be used with any form of a solar grenade, and with fusion grenades being unbelievably powerful at the moment, this is a free way to get armor charges that you wouldn't be able to obtain otherwise. I highly recommend this mod, especially if you're a Warlock main. And last but not least, least, we have Volatile Flow, where picking up an Orb of Power grants your Void weapons volatile rounds. This was one of the most popular mods during the Witch Queen expansion and has returned for Lightfall once again. As you can see here, volatile rounds absolutely shred everything in its path, and you should definitely be picking this mod up because all you have to do is equip a Void weapon, but you can use this on any subclass, which makes it viable regardless if you're running Strand or any of the other Light 3.0 subclasses that are your personal favorites. Moving on to column 4, we have Bricks from Beyond, where defeating a powerful combatant with a Void weapon has a chance to generate heavy ammo for you and your teammates. And though I'm not sure what this exact value is, as it's pretty difficult to test, any additional shots at heavy ammo based on just using your weapons is always something positive to have, especially when the other options in this column aren't the best in my personal opinion. Next up, we have Flare Up, where Firebolt grenades apply more Scorch stacks. Damaging a combatant with a Firebolt grenade spawns a Fire Sprite near them. Now, the second part of this mod is very powerful because Fire Sprites provide armor charges. However, giving up your Fusion Grenade on a Warlock or your Healing Grenade on a Hunter or Titan is just going to be pretty difficult to do in endgame content. Now, not everything needs to be taken that seriously. You can obviously go and have a ton of fun with this mod as it is actually pretty powerful, but I think in endgame content, players are going to be sticking to both fusion and healing grenades instead of using firebolts. Next up, we have Origin Hones, where weapons with the Noble Deeds, Nano Tracing Rockets, Text Balance Stock, and Ambush Origin traits are always overcharged when that modifier is active. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, the overcharge modifier provides a 25% damage bonus to your weapons when you match the overcharged affinity, and this is very powerful, but at the same time, you can kind of work around the overcharge system anyway, and I don't think that this perk is personally necessary. Next up, we have Allied Unraveling, and this kind of feeds back into what I was saying about Untangler. You'll need to take both Untangler and Allied Unraveling to get the most out of your Strand builds, so if you're committing to one of these mods, you're going to need to commit to all of them. Allied Unraveling states that rapid final blows with a Strand weapon grant your weapon unraveling rounds and a longer duration near allies. Now, by all means, if you guys want to go and mess around with the brand new Strand weapons and have some fun with your Strand builds, feel free to take these mods as they are definitely going to be very fun to use. Next up, we have Counterweave, which states that when you or a member of your fire team stuns or defeats a champion, you gain energy for your least charged Strand ability. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Counterweave, Allied Unraveling, and Untangler will all be very powerful with one another, but as you guys can start to see, if you're gonna be using Strand, you're gonna have to pretty heavily commit to using Strand artifact mods to really make your ability uptime viable and make those abilities on par with Light 3.0 subclasses. Column 5 is where the most powerful mods have historically been housed, so let's see what we've got. First up, we have Threaded Blast, where destroying a Tangle with a Strand weapon creates a larger, more damaging explosion. Now, as I've already stated time and time again, in order to gain the most value, you have to spec heavily into Strand based on artifact mods. This means you're losing out on other powerful options since you only have 12 slots available, and if you enjoy using Strand, then feel free to use this, but in my opinion, it just doesn't compare to the Light 3.0 classes as they stand currently. Next up, we have Rain of Firebolts, where when you have a Firebolt grenade equipped, you gain a second charge. So this is essentially Starfire Protocol for Firebolt grenades. So if you guys are messing around with Dawn Chorus and the brand new Dawnblade buff, this could definitely be a super fun option to scorch targets and have additional grenade charges available to you to wreak even more chaos. Next up, we have one of my personal favorite mods in the entire artifact, and it is Void Weapon Channeling. This mod states that you gain a temporary bonus to Void weapon damage after you defeat a target with a Void weapon while at least one of your Void abilities is fully charged. We tested this mod out with a varied number of abilities available to me, and the damage range increased from 10% at the lowest value all the way up to 25% at the highest value. This means that as long as you have at least one void ability available, you'll have at least a 10% damage bonus at all times. This stacks with other damage sources such as Well of Radiance and Ward of Dawn, pushing that damage number even higher. You can combo this with Volatile Flow from column 3 and nuke entire rooms with ease. If you plan on running Void at all this season, this is a must-pick mod, and it may just be my favorite one from this artifact overall. Next up, we have Medieval Champion that states glaives you wield fire a powerful explosive payload that stuns unshielded combatants, strong against unstoppable champions. Additionally, glaives are always overcharged when that modifier is active, which as I mentioned earlier is a 25% damage bonus. Next, we have landing consecutive hits with a sword you are wielding disrupts combatants, stunning them, delaying ability regeneration, and lowering combatant damage output. This is strong against overload champions, and additionally, swords are always overcharged when that modifier is active. This is essentially just a combo of unstoppable glaive and overload sword in one mod, and both will be overcharged when you use either of these weapon types. Next up, we have Prismatic Transfer that states when you cast your super, each member of your fire team with a subclass damage type different than yours gains a bonus to their weapon damage. And this sounds unbelievably strong on paper, but isn't actually as strong as we initially thought it was going to be. The whole idea is that your hunter would throw a tether with this mod on, and you would get an additional damage bonus on top of your Well of Radiance. So your entire team would just be able to absolutely cook raid bosses, but unfortunately, these do not stack. But with that being said, this mod is still very powerful because you have to think about a 20% damage bonus that you can take advantage of when you're outside of a well. So whether you're casting a Thunder Crash or even using a brand new Strand super to clear some ads, your teammates are going to get a 20% damage bonus for 10 full seconds. The range on this seems to be around 15 meters or so as long as you're somewhat close to your teammates, that's basically a free damage bonus whenever your teammate casts a super. Anyways, guys, those are the artifact mods that I would recommend during Season of Defiance. I hope you guys found this breakdown useful. There was a lot of testing and research that had to go into making this video possible, so if you enjoyed, a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated. And let me know down in the comments which builds you're the most excited for this season. Are you guys loving Strand, or are you defaulting back to the other Light 3.0 subclasses? Be sure to let me know down in the comments below. We'll have a ton of build videos on the way, and if you guys want a more in-depth breakdown of the new armor mod system, please let me know down in the comments below. I'm here for you guys, so anything you guys want to see, just make sure to let me know. Anyways, that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace!